afternoon, students, and welcome to the Legal Futures and Technology webinar. My name is Maxine Evis, and I'm the Associate Dean for Education here in the Faculty of Law at UTS. My role is to work with my colleagues in providing the best education that we possibly can to you, and one of the most exciting parts of our education program is our Legal Futures and Technology major. But before we begin our webinar, I would like to acknowledge and pay my respects to the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, in particular their elders and leaders, past, present and emerging. It's upon their land that UTS stands, and we are in a privileged position to be on this land that belonged to a people that was such rich in knowledge and the sharing of knowledge and stories. So thank you, students, for taking the time out to learn more about our Legal Futures and Technology major. The purpose of this afternoon's webinar is to give you some information about the major, the opportunity for you to meet your teachers, virtually that is, to answer any questions or queries that you have about the major, and really to help you plan how you're going to, if you're interested in the major, how it fits into your course. So as you know, as law students, a significant amount of your degree is our core subjects that are mandated by the New South Wales Legal Profession Admission Board that students must undertake to be admitted as legal practitioners. So we're very aware that your electives are very precious, and the electives is really your opportunity to specialise, to dig deeper into the areas that you're interested in. And the major has been designed to enable you to do that, particularly well placed in a society that is facing rapid change, and we've seen that very much this year in terms of how we're managing to respond to COVID-19 and how technology is transforming what we're doing and has rapidly transformed many aspects of our life this year, including your legal education. So you all know, as we do as your teachers, that how technology has really allowed us to continue to deliver quality education to you, despite most people having to be learning and teaching remotely. So as I said, this session, please feel free to ask questions. You have the opportunity to pop your questions into the Q&A box that you can see on your screen. You'll also have the opportunity to ask questions, or I'll read out questions if we have time at the end. So that all students can benefit from the answers to those questions. I'm very lucky here to have my academic colleagues that will speak to you about the major, that are experts in this area, that teach and design the major, as well as our professional colleagues from both the faculty and the student admin unit that can also answer those admin questions. I'd also like to advise you that this session is being recorded for the purpose of enabling other students to listen to it, or for you to come back and listen to aspects of it as well. So as I've just said, and as you're experiencing, particularly now in a pandemic, and hopefully you will never need to experience that again, technology has really led the way and has enabled us to respond in quite a sophisticated and advanced way to the challenges of COVID. And even prior to COVID, though, technology has changed very much the way that we do things, you know, the way that we communicate, and the way that we work in our workplaces, and the way that we live in our own kind of social and family settings, but particularly in the law, technology and innovation. So they go together. It's not just about technology, but it's also innovation that is often driven by or assisted by technology, particularly for law, and in really three ways. So technology and innovation has impacted and is impacting on the law itself. And depending on which subjects you've already undertaken in your law degree, you will be hearing and learning about how technology innovation is impacting on the law. It is also impacting on legal practice. So how lawyers, whether they be in private practice, whether they be in-house as corporate counsel, whether they be working in community legal centres or as government lawyers, how we practice law, how we engage with advocacy and the courts, how we transfer documents, how we record, and how we communicate has all been changed in the way that the practice of law is now managed, much more so in the last 10 or so years than possibly in the last 50 years prior to that. So importantly, as lawyers or as legal professionals, our role has changed and is changing. And that's really the design of the major, to equip students with the knowledge and the skills and the ability to apply that knowledge and skills to changing environments and changing laws. So it's quite a high ask of lawyers to really be the leaders in advising individual clients, but also advising governments and corporations and other agencies about how to manage technology in the best way possible, how to use innovation to assist and support what we do, and how to solve some of those ethical dilemmas that have come about because of the rapidly changing nature caused by technology that really has had to have us grapple with ideas that we might never have thought would ever be possible. So we'll go through, particularly in this webinar, the different parts of the major to really give you a very clear picture of what it's like to be a student in the major. Some of you may be very close to having those electives left to undertake the major. Others of you may be in first year and thinking about what you'll be doing in your last year or your second last year, and that's a great thing to be able to think about it and plan so far ahead. Next slide, please. So these are a couple of examples of how the practice of law, so being a lawyer, working as a lawyer, is being disrupted, is changing. These are different ways of transactions, different ways of seeing things and doing things, and different things that are happening that lawyers now have to interact with. Clients are looking to lawyers to work with them in relation to embedding technology and responding to technology. And some of these terms I'm sure you've heard about. Some have been around for several years, and some of these will come up, as I said, these happenings, these events, these impact is already you're learning about in some of your core subjects, but really this is the opportunity in the major for you to specialise and learn in a much deeper dive about these different aspects. I'd now like to hand over to my colleague, Professor David Lindsay. Professor Lindsay leads the Futures Legal Technology and Futures major, and he'll speak to you in more detail about what it's like to be a student in the major. Thank you, David.
Okay, thank you, Maxine, and I'd like to welcome everyone to this presentation and this seminar. And I'd just like to begin by reinforcing some of the things that Maxine has been saying about the reasons for us introducing this major. So as you're studying your undergraduate law degree, you should be aware that there are very significant changes occurring in the legal profession. And as a law school, we need to make sure that you have the skills demanded by a changing profession. Now, if you look more closely at this slide, you'll see that a variety of technologies, including but not limited to AI and machine learning, are changing and fundamentally changing the business of law. These technologies include e-discovery, automated document analysis and automated drafting, expert systems, predictive systems, and collaboration tools. Other technologies such as blockchain are not currently having a major impact on the legal profession, but they may well do so in the future. These developments give rise to both challenges and opportunities, including how best to harness the potential of innovative new technologies while maintaining professional ethical standards. And of course, as Maxine has said, the COVID crisis has accelerated the development of innovative virtual services and online delivery of services, many of which are likely to stay. So there's many reasons for the changes that have been occurring, but one of the main reasons has been the need to deliver value to clients. While in the past it might have been sufficient for lawyers to know the law, in recent decades, clients have increasingly been demanding value for money, or in other words, efficiency and predictability. So clients expect all of the traditional skills that you're being trained to undertake as a lawyer. But in addition, they demand new skills. And one of the main reasons for the major is to equip you with some of these new skills that are demanded by employers, including skills in project management, in teamwork, and in advanced presentation skills. So could I have the next slide, please? At UTS, we've decided to deal with these challenges, which are also challenges for legal education, by introducing the Legal Futures and Technology major, the first of its kind in Australia. The major was launched in 2018 after significant research and consultation with the profession, and it's designed to equip students with the skills necessary for navigating technological change and associated changes in the legal profession. The major is both academically rigorous and practical, including coursework subjects, additional activities, and the opportunity to undertake a legal internship with a legal futures and technology focus. Next slide, please. The subjects in the major are delivered by experts in technology law, some of whom you'll hear from today. Our experts include experts in intellectual property law, cybersecurity, privacy law, and cybercrime, all of whom have active research interests in those areas and in other areas relating to technology and law. In the next slide, we'll give you an idea of what to expect from the major. And we've got a short video from a current student who was a student in my subject last year, Rachel Polk-Kai. So we'll now play this video. We seem to be having some problems with the audio, so please just bear with us while we sort this out. Okay, we've had some, needless to say, we've had some technical difficulties. So we'll make the video available for you after this seminar, so you'll be able to watch it for yourself. But we'll move on now, as we must be flexible, and I'll talk to you in more detail about the structure of the major. So this slide introduces you to the structure of the major, and I'll explain it as simply as possible. The major is made up of 5 subjects amounting to 30 credit points. So you must make sure, as everybody has emphasised, that in your study plan, you have the flexibility to enrol in 5 electives. Of the 5 subjects in the major, 2 are compulsory. They are the 2 capstone subjects. Capstone 1, which is technology, law and ethics, and you'll hear more about that soon. And Capstone 2, the applied project in law, innovation and technology and I'll be saying a little bit more about that. Now, in addition to the 2 compulsory subjects, you must choose between either one coursework subject, disruptive technologies and the law, which you'll hear more about soon, or you can take the local internship, which is an internship in a legal, with a legal futures and technology focus. And then finally, you must choose 2 from a range of selected electives, which include subjects that we'll get to later, but they include things like biomedical law and bioethics and intellectual property law. So now I'll hand you over to Genevieve Wilkinson, who will talk to you a bit more about Capstone 1.
Hi everyone, my name is Genevieve Wilkinson. I'm a lecturer in the faculty and my background is particularly in intellectual property, and I'm also interested in human rights. And so that actually works very nicely in the first major, which looks at technology, law, policy and ethics. And we recognise in the major that technology is impacting on legal practice more and more, and will do so increasingly in the future. So as a result of things like artificial intelligence, automation, machine learning, we are presented with lots of really interesting issues and problems to talk about. And so in Capstone 1, we grapple with a range of complex problems involving technology and the law. So in technology, law, policy and ethics, one of the things you're asked to question is how the law is addressing changes to the way that society operates and the way that lawyers practice. As a capstone subject, we're able to look at the many different areas of law that technology cuts across. And this includes commercial law, corporations law, contracts, criminal law. Last year, this year, 2020, we even considered how constitutional law could be relevant to some of the tech law policy and ethics questions that we were looking. And this approach of looking at problems that cut across a wide range of law is very similar to real life practice, where the problems that you are asked by clients will require you to have a knowledge of many areas of law, or be able to access knowledge about many areas of law and apply it to the problems that your clients bring to you. So technology, law, policy and ethics is important for this, but it also provides you with an opportunity to reflect on your understanding of ethics and the ethical obligations of a lawyer and how these relate to technology, where new ethical frameworks for technology are emerging. And part of the course enables us to spend some time critiquing these different ethical frameworks that develop for technology, which results in some really interesting debates. We question ethical approaches to technology, and we also spend a lot of time looking at other important policy issues related to technology and the law. And this, as Maxine and David have so beautifully explained, is one of the great things about this major, its contemporary focus. And so this year we spent lots of time looking at technological issues related to COVID-19. We raised questions about technological surveillance, health sensor data and smartphone apps, because students had lots of concerns about the operation of law in relation to drones, online exam invigilation and the COVID Safe app. We spent a lot of time thinking about some of the privacy issues related to this particular time in the world and this time for law in Australia. We also benefited from a lot of guest lectures from experts who provided a range of insights into policy. So in 2020, we had guest lecturers from the Australian Human Rights Commission, someone who is active in fintech, a privacy expert, and an app design expert. So we've got a good understanding of the range of different areas of policy that are engaged by questions of technology, law, policy and ethics. And one of the great things about this course is that online or in person, we ask you to engage with each other, to both discuss really interesting policy questions, as well as the problems that we ask you to apply different areas of law to, but also to work together. And so one of the collaborative exercises this year was that groups of students designed their own apps to address questions of technology and law. So it is a really exciting time to study this area of law and the relationship between technology, law, policy and ethics. And I look forward to seeing some of you in the course next year. So David, I'll hand back to you.
Thanks, Genevieve. So now I'll talk to you about Capstone 2, which is the applied project in law, innovation and technology, which is the subject that I'm responsible for. The second of the capstone subjects is a very practically oriented subject in which students solve real-world problems in innovative ways. And when you're taking this subject, you'll work in a team to solve problems for clients over the full duration of the semester. And at the end, you're required to present innovative and creative solutions to clients, and also to produce a research report for clients. So the subject does all of those sorts of things that I identified earlier that members of the legal profession are requiring lawyers currently to do. So students enrolled in the subject learn skills in legal project management, in teamwork, and in working in multidisciplinary teams, and in presentation skills. In addition, the subject builds on other things that you will have studied, including the application of law to complex technologies, and also how technology is changing the practice of law. As an example of the sorts of projects students work on, this year, students are working on one project involving giving advice to a fintech startup, which involves looking not only at Australian law, but because the startup is an international startup, looking at the law in other jurisdictions. And another project has students working on giving advice to a law tech company. So this part of the subject involves looking at areas of the law that are complex but are subject to rapid change, and then translating your legal knowledge into practical advice for a client. Past years have involved projects in areas such as smart cities and agri-tech. So this capstone subject, as the name suggests, is designed to build on all of your legal knowledge, but also to introduce you and train you in new skills, in skills such as working in a team over a full semester, but also in being able to manage a complex project. Okay, I'll turn you back now to Maxine, who'll talk to you about the local internship.
Thanks very much, David. So as David pointed out, in the structure of the major, you have your capstone subjects that you've just heard about, and then you have a choice of either a local internship subject or disruptive technologies and the law, one of our electives. As you may know, the local internship is available to all students, not just students that are undertaking the major. But what is a special feature of the internship in the major is that you are placed in a work environment that has a focus on technology, and so puts those skills that you're learning into practice. Examples of places where students have gone for their internship in the past include Westpac in their technology division, and LawPath, which is a startup law firm that was established by one of our alumni, Dominic Woolridge, who is also the alumni of the year this year for us. And so we have a very good relationship with Dominic, and his startup is not far from where UTS is, and that's where he's really using technology to solve legal problems and to deliver documents in a very different way that has been traditionally done in the past. So it really is putting that you're learning into practice. It's seeing technology innovation happening in the real world, and it also around the assessment gives you the opportunity to reflect on what you're learning a little bit. We've already spoken about what questions about the ethics of lawyers in this space, about what it's like to be a professional working with the opportunities and the challenges of technology, and to really equip you with the skills that are very, very transferable to different work environments, and something that you can talk about a great deal when you're applying for jobs, whether they be part-time jobs while you're studying or whether they be your graduate positions, about your learnings in the major, and particularly how you saw that in the local internship subject. I'm now going to hand you over to my colleague, Dr. Ivana Wright, and Ivana looks after the other option that you have to undertake in the major, disruptive technologies in the law. Thank you, Ivana.
Thank you, Maxine. Hello, everyone. My name is Ivana Wright, and I'm a lecturer in the Faculty of Law. Prior to becoming an academic, I was in-house counsel for major technology companies in Australia and in the United States, working in Silicon Valley. So disruptive technologies is a subject that's very near and dear to my heart and my practice and research. Modern technology is changing the way that society does business and the way that we relate to each other. And as a consequence, technology is changing the way that different types of relationships break down and how laws are broken. In addition, regulators and legal professionals are struggling to keep pace with innovation. Disruptive technologies and the law looks at how different technologies interact with the law, or where there are gaps in the law when it comes to particular technologies. And as Genevieve mentioned in relation to Capstone 1, this might include a wide range of laws such as privacy law, contract law, employment law, or administrative law, civil liability, and even something as simple as traffic offences. We cover a wide range of technologies in this subject, such as big data, artificial intelligence, autonomous machines like driverless cars and autonomous weapons, blockchain and cryptocurrencies, digital platforms, biotechnologies such as gene editing and biohacking, environmental technologies, and also disruptive legal technologies such as pre-sentencing algorithmic assessments and legal chatbots. So more than ever, lawyers need to be problem solvers, to be adaptive and to be technically capable. And technological skills are highly valued by potential employers, and that includes a working knowledge of different types of technology. In particular, fintech and legal tech fluency should be part of every law graduate's armoury. And I hope to see you in disruptive technologies and the law in coming years. I'll hand you back over now to David Lindsay. Thank you.
Thank you, Ivana. So now you have a pretty good idea of the sorts of things that you'll be studying as part of the major. But I thought I'd take you back now to look at things from the point of view of the student experience. So if you have a look at this side, this emphasises that the feedback that we've received from students completing the major has been uniformly positive. For example, Jazz Oswald, who was in the first intake of students and who's now working at FinTech Australia, has provided us with this testimonial. So you can read this for yourself, but you'll notice that Jazz reports that the subjects were both the most interesting and the most applicable to his legal career, and how, unlike traditional legal subjects, subjects like the capstone subjects go beyond the law to introduce you, for example, in Capstone 2, to how to provide the best advice to a client, which includes legal advice, but also goes beyond that to include commercial and broader advice. And that's exactly what the major is intended to do. So we'll now move on to some more of the mechanics of the major, and we'll take you back to Maxine.
Thank you, David. And if I could just confirm what Jazz has said and what David has said, I have the privilege in my role as Associate Dean to read student feedback from all the subjects undertaken in each session, and the feedback for all the subjects in the major is particularly inspiring about how students really get to have the opportunity to not only see but to be exposed to the law and to reflect on the law in a very different way. So when we designed the major, we really wanted to ensure that students had the opportunity to become students, to get that sense of belonging in their first year, and then to, as they work through the core subjects and are exposed to other electives and speak with other students, to have a good understanding of what's available. So we certainly don't require students to enrol in the major until later on in their degree, because you will commence the major whether you're an LLB student or a combined other discipline and law student in your penultimate or your second last year, and then completed in your last year. And as I said at the commencement of the webinar, it's really important when you have a limited range of electives to really plan well. So you get that opportunity to undertake your first year subjects and to get to have a little bit more of a feel around the law degree, and then to enroll in the major. So the major is available for all undergraduate law students, whether it's the 4-year full-time LLB or the combined laws and another discipline. And there was a question in the Q&A around whether or not the major is available for Juris Doctor students. It's not available for Juris Doctor students. In JD students as postgraduate learners are, I think, in a different place. They also have quite a restricted number of electives because it's a shorter course, and undertaking those core subjects takes up usually around 2 years of the 3-year postgraduate course. But we have a very strong offering in the Juris Doctor as one of our streams. So we have streams or clusters of subjects, specialty subjects in electives, and our IP, media and technology stream in the JD allow students to undertake a couple of subjects that address technology innovation. So Ivana spoke about disruptive technologies. There is a JD version of that subject, so a postgraduate subject called Special Issues in Disruptive Technologies and the Law. We also have a legal theory subject for JD students called Just Tech, which is about the connection between, or the intersection between, social justice and technology. Of course, we have a range of intellectual property subjects taught by Ivana and Genevieve and other colleagues in the IP team, which is also part of our Masters of Intellectual Property. So you have your IP subjects as electives, as well as a media subject, and then the opportunity for JD students to do a research project in technology and innovation and be supervised by colleagues such as David, Genevieve and Ivana. Thank you. Next slide. So this will give you the information that you need about the requirements to enroll in the major. So first and foremost, you really need to have room to undertake the major. As David has explained, it is 30 credit points or 5 subjects worth of study. So there has to be room in your study plan. So depending on whether you're doing the 4-year LLB or the combined 5-year law degree, you know how many credit points you have. And the handbook is very helpful at setting out your subjects, the progression, and the credit points. Your study plan will also set that out for you. So you must leave room to enable that 30 credit points to be handed over to the major as such. And then, of course, as you've already heard, we have the compulsory capstone 1 and capstone 2, and then the rest of the major is made up of options. So one option you have is the disruptive technology in the law elective that Ivana spoke about, or the local internship. And then the next option is a range of subjects that you can see on the slide now that you can undertake as subjects that you are interested in. Now, all students can undertake those electives that are on your screen now. They're not just for the major. And then particularly, and there'll be a slide about this shortly in relation to doing honours, you have to ensure that you leave room within the major to undertake the research methodology, subject, which is a pre-subject to the research thesis. So this slide very nicely sets out if you're considering doing honours and you are eligible in terms of your WAM for honours, and there's information about that on the website and in the handbook, then this is what the major would look like for you. So you've either got the choice of disruptive technologies or local internship, and then the honours subjects, which are the research methodology, which must be done before the thesis. So that's something you would do in your penultimate year, the research methodology, and then the thesis in your final year, and then the capstone subjects to follow. So that's a very clear path for you to undertake the major and to graduate as Jazz did with honours. Thank you.